I see your hand raised.
Mayor, I move to approve the carnival license application from Paradise Amusements Incorporated to hold a carnival at the Port Orchard waterfront and allow the use of the downtown parking lot as described starting Monday, July 5th, 2021 to Monday, July 12th, 2021.
I'll second.
Okay, so there's a motion to approve and a second. So discussion?
Mayor, I would love to hear from Chief Brown on some of the security issues.
Certainly. Thank you, council member. Again, we have some significant concerns about this. There was no security plan submitted as is required by the permit. There's no crowd management plan. We have significant public safety concerns when it comes to traffic management, especially with the carnival and other events in the area. Parking is going to be reduced, which is going to cause the visitors to park in neighboring areas and then have to cross State Route 166. As much as we would like to accept that that is a slow downtown area, it's not really, especially when you get out of the main downtown core. And we're concerned about access, we're concerned about pedestrian safety, and we're also concerned about the crowd size, especially since there are no other events going on that we are aware of in the region for the 4th of July.
Okay, thank you, Chief. Councilman McCloskey?
Mayor and council, I have a few concerns. A lot of it is related to the fact that, there's no guarantee that we're going to come out of these COVID restrictions on July 1. We're all assuming that the governor is going to make some announcement June 30th or hopefully before, but there's no guarantee. So I'm concerned about making a commitment that we may not be able to fulfill, or take that back to the folks that are proposing the carnival if the governor does not take away the restrictions. I have not seen anything that suggests how they're going to be able to deal with the current level of restrictions that we have of COVID. So I guess I have some concerns about that as well. And I do have concerns with the traffic. I appreciate that Kitsap Transit submitted that they really don't have concerns as long as they can get the buses through there. But by the elimination of that parking lot, it's going to increase the number of people that are going to be wanting to get close access to the ferries for the normal commuter and transportation needs, and how they're going to get their private vehicles down there as well. It's going to be a kind of a congested area at the end of Sydney. So I have a few concerns with it. And finally, I don't know Public Works if you have any concerns, but I know when we addressed the carnival years past, one of the concerns we had was the damage that would be occurring to the parking lot with them driving their stakes in through the asphalt to anchor some of that stuff down. So I'd like to hear if Mark has any concerns as well.
Yeah, we definitely have concerns with damage and cleanup, even though, there's a cleanup plan, but it's never in an event. I've been to plenty of carnivals, one in Silverdale, Whaling Days. There's quite a bit of cleanup involved. I also have concerns about accessibility, not just crossing the highway, but just pedestrian access or emergency response to the shoreline in the congestion, because that is going to be, on the waterfront at night and for an entire week. And so emergency response to get to somebody in the water or any other event, getting emergency fire department, there's been no safety plan. There's like a security plan that talks about where we're going to fence, but a safety plan and opening an emergency operations center is really what you need for an event this size. And then Public Works has to start working with the police department on, how do we keep a car, for example, from just driving through the facility? We've seen an increase in that sort of situation. So we're looking at trying to get barricades in place to create a safe cordon zone for the event, but that also restricts emergency responders from being able to respond. So there's just a number of issues with this that are very short fused in trying to get an emergency operation plan in place so that everybody's on board.
Councilmember Pichardi.
Yeah, I would echo the sentiments from Chief Brown and Mark Dorsey and Councilmember Clausen. We need to realize that we are living in a different world than we may have lived in 2 years ago, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago. And I think when we really look at scrutinizing public safety, security, crowd management, and the unknowns around what our governor's about ready to deploy with additional rules for these types of gatherings, it's simply too soon. And so I think to protect the overall community, I will not be in favor of this particular application.
Councilmember Dean.
I would like to also second the concerns that I've heard. I can certainly appreciate the concerns of the chief and of the Public Works Director. I think John has raised some good points, as has Sean. There was no security plan that was provided, which would help address some of the safety concerns. We don't have any assurances about when COVID restrictions will be further lifted. Crowd management wasn't adequately addressed. And there will be definitely an impact on parking, which is a big deal, as well as traffic flow. And for these reasons, I also intend on voting against the application. I look forward to a future date when we can work out some of these issues.
Councilmember Rosapepe, I saw you raise your hand.
I did. Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, other council members, for your comments. One of my concerns, besides those that have been echoed, is about our downtown businesses and the impact on them with lack of parking. Our businesses are just starting to recover a bit very slowly after COVID, and I don't want to do anything that would impact them negatively and interrupt their business flow, which we've seen happen in the past with special events, but this would be a major magnitude. So I definitely will not be in favor of this resolution.
Councilmember Lucarelli.
So this hits pretty close to home for me because I am dealing with the potential of what to do with Chimes and Lights this year. And I didn't even feel that we were ready yet for Chimes and Lights, a Chimes and Lights event, because of not having all the information that we need. It feels too soon. All of these concerns that have been mentioned are real. I'm wondering, I just doesn't feel like there's enough planning that has gone into place. And I'm very concerned about the huge potential for many people coming into the community and not being able to manage what we have here. So I want a fundraiser for the whole carnival. I mean, for the Fathoms, but I just don't feel comfortable with this plan.
Councilmember Chang, go ahead.
I understand the desire to be outside and to have something exciting like this happening. And I remember seeing it from my window where I live up on Sydney. But this does seem too soon. We didn't hear anything about how they would plan for social distancing at a carnival, if you could even plan for that. And I'm also concerned about commuters. Not everyone is able to telecommute, but we have people who depend on parking to get to work. And unfortunately, I don't think you can just wave a magic wand and say that people always find parking, because people will not be able to find parking and still be able to visit the stores and restaurants that they're used to. It's just not the same world anymore. So I am sadly not going to be able to support this application.
Any other comments? So the motion on the floor is to approve the application. So all in favor, Councilmember Clausen?
Yeah, just a question. If this motion is voted down, I guess a question to Brandy or the attorney, then would we need to make a motion to reject it, or would this action be sufficient?
The denial of the license, I believe, would be sufficient under 532.080 of the code to refuse permission.
So but the motion on the floor is to whether to approve. If that fails, does there need to be a new motion to deny?
I do not believe so, because that would be, they've failed to receive a majority vote in support of granting the license, which is a refusal of the license.
Okay. Thank you for that clarification. So the motion on the floor is to approve the application. All in favor of that motion to approve, please say aye. Hearing none, all wishing to deny the application, please say nay.
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 The motion fails. All six in opposition to the application. So we will move on to our last business item, which is the approval of the May 18th work study session meeting minutes. Is there a motion to approve?
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve the May 18th work study minutes.
Second.
And I see there was nobody absent. I believe everybody was present. So a motion and a second. And all in favor of approving the work study minutes, please say aye.
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 Anyone opposed? Hearing none.
Mayor, I will abstain. I was absent.
Oh, well, there it is. I missed it. You're right. You were absent. Thank you. Thank you for catching that for me. All right. We have a discussion item tonight due to the length of this evening's meeting. I'm going to postpone that to next week's work study so we can have a robust discussion about that. And we have also another executive session following this meeting. So I'm going to be respectful of your time. So committee reports, I'm going to run through these just quickly. And Economic Development and Tourism, I believe, meets next week on the 14th. Utilities, meeting on June 8th. That was today. So Cindy, do you have a report for us? I think some of it was what we did tonight.
Yes, the bulk of it was discussed earlier. One quick update, the McCormick Lift Station #1 has a water hammer issue, and there's a fix that requires a surge tank and air vac. They're working on that solution. And the splash pad update, it looks like we will be opening the splash pad as we had anticipated, but we're working on a long-term solution. And that will be taking place later in the year to do recycling of the water. And that's pretty much it.
On the splash pad, we're waiting to hear from guidance from the governor's office, but hopefully that's going to come in July, end of June or in July, and that will enable us to open it. But right now, due to the governor's restrictions, that's why we've kept it closed. So, land use, I'm seeing is meeting on June 17th, and you haven't met. Does Chimes and Lights have any type of an update?
No, that'll be next week.
Okay, perfect. Finance meets next, it says to be determined on here, but it's next Tuesday at 5 o'clock, I believe, and right here on Zoom. Transportation is June 29th. Sewer advisory, have you guys met?
That'll be in July 21st.
Okay. Lodging tax, Jay, do you have anything to report?
Yeah, we'll be meeting in July to look at updated applications. Brandy's getting those now.
Okay. I'll just cover outside agencies in my mayor's report, and I'll buzz through this quickly. I have an obligation to report changes to personal policies, and I just want to let you know, we've obviously been, like most of the world, telecommuting. Many of our staff has been telecommuting, and we've updated our personnel policies, preparing for as we reopen City Hall. And our new policy will allow, with the approval of your supervisor, for an employee to continue to telework 2 days a week, provided that your job allows for it and your supervisor approves of it. So that's what our new policy says. Puget Sound Regional Council, I'm on the executive board there. Our last meeting, there was a large presentation on the Regional Aviation Baseline Study. I believe there's 4 airports that have advanced out of that study, and Bremerton is one of them. Everett and Painfield, and I think one in Eastern Washington are also the other airports. So more to come on that. That Parks survey, I'm very pleased. It's been up for about a week. And, when we did the Ruby Creek sub-area plan, we had 13 people take our survey. Now, Nick's McCormick Village survey, though, gosh, what was nearly 500, Nick? Would you get 400 and something?
I think it was closer to 275.
275? Now I'm feeling really good. I have 174 people in a week that have taken the park survey. And I'm going to keep that open until the end of the month. And I don't even know what any of the results are. I don't want anybody skewing it. But I'm very, very pleased that of the number of people that have taken this park survey. So if you haven't taken it, there's signs and QR codes that you can just walk up to one of the signs in one of our parks and take the survey. So please do. Directors, we can run through you guys quickly. Mr. Bond, do you have anything to report tonight?
Not tonight, thank you.
Charlie, I believe you have something.
Just briefly to report to the council, litigation that the city has been involved in with regards to the Stetson Heights development was dismissed today. So I have that to report.
Nice work. Okay, Mr. Dorsey.
I have nothing.
Okay. Chief Brown, do you have anything?
Just real brief, I want to let the council know that we did have our mock accreditation. We did incredibly well, and we expect our final to be in the end of July or early August, and don't anticipate any problems. So again, thank you guys very much for your support. That's going to put us in the top 20% across the state. Thank you.
Outstanding. All right, who do we have left here? Mr. Crocker.
Nothing further for me tonight. Thank you.
Okay. Burke Grinderson.
I have nothing further to report either.
Okay, and we're to our second citizen comment period. Is there anyone wishing to address the council at the end of our meeting here this evening? Please raise your hand and the clerk will recognize you and bring you into the meeting.
At this time, I have no one that has raised their hand.
Okay, we will be heading into an executive session pursuant to RCW 4230-110I. The city council will hold this executive session on Charlie, I'm messing this up. Why don't you take over?
Not a problem. The city council will enter into an executive session for 20 minutes with no action to follow pursuant to RCW 4230-110, subpart 1, subpart I, to discuss legal risks of a proposed action that potentially has an adverse legal or financial consequence to the agency if discussed in open session. And again, the same link as you received, we utilized earlier, I believe will work for this session.
Okay.
Is
Is
there,
taken afterwards, so we're going to stop the recording and the live streaming.
is there staff that's needed at this?
Mr. Bond.
Ooh,